What's going on, everybody? It's Tuesday night. You know what that means. It's Flyers Talk A to D. That's right. Tonight we are talking everything Flyers as always. Flyers playing a good stretch of hockey. What's leading up to that? What's the cause? Does it have anything to do with what's happened with Mitchkov over the last couple games? We're going to get into that. That's going to be a really good discussion. We're also going to preview the Ottawa Senators game coming up on Thursday. I think that's going to be a really fun game to definitely talk about tonight. So you know what to do. We're going to hit that live. We're going to hit that subscribe because, they switched my avatar. I'll have to switch that because the Hoff says so. So hit that like, hit that subscribe, turn on those notifications. It's time to go talk some puck. Let the conversation begin.
This is Flyers Talk A2D, and we're powered by the doc. That is Dr. Paul Vidal at Specialized Physical Therapy LLC with 2 locations, Burlington, Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Check out our doc, make them yours. Visit them at specializedphysicaltherapy.com. I'm jumping in the lead. Matt Sudi will be jumping on the stream shortly, but for now, we're hitting the ice with Brian Daly and Brad Ryer on the top line, centered by yours truly, Rob Povia. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe for notifications to all your favorite shows here on A2D Radio. Like Brian broke down, we're previewing Flyers Sens on Thursday night later on in the show. But first, are the Flyers finally finding their rhythm? We want your opinion on our face-off poll, which is, despite the results, positive or negative, this stretch of games has you optimistic the Flyers are starting to find their groove, just like Stella. Agree or disagree? We'll be reading your comments all throughout tonight's podcast. But I want to start with the boys here. Brian, are they finding their groove?
I think so, man. I really do. I think it all started in Carolina, despite the fact that they did wind up losing that game 6-4. It wound up being a very good effort game. And one of the things we were talking about was just, going shift by shift, playing a little bit faster, playing a little bit harder, getting into the dirty areas, putting some pucks on net. Not necessarily shooting a score, but just throwing pucks on net. They did that. They got some positive results, and they built off of that heading into Florida. And obviously, if you watch the games that were in Florida, looks like a different team. Again, pressure, effort, doing the little things. And, unfortunately, with Mitchkov being scratched 2 games in Florida, which I think, a lot of people are calling it being a punished. I don't think he was being punished at all, but that's a whole conversation we'll have later. I like where this team is heading. I like the groove that they're on. They're playing a much more confident game than they were earlier this season. You can't judge this team based off of what they do in October. It's based on, a lot of people say the season doesn't start until after Christmas. This team's starting to find a groove. This team is starting to play a little bit better. You're seeing better effort. And, I think getting Erson back sooner than they probably expected, I think that was definitely a spark. But, I totally agree to the poll. I'm a little bit more optimistic about this team now. They're starting to find the groove, especially some of the stars, the guys that we need to, make an impact in this game. These guys are making the impact. We just need some of these younger guys to really start kicking in. And this team could be, be making some, making some teams sweat a little bit, especially when we're in the second half of the year when we start really focusing on what the playoff spots are.
Well said, Brian. Well said. We are seeing a lot of positive play, doing the basics like we talked about last week, boys, right? Getting shots on goal, winning that battle, winning the rebounds, winning the war in the trenches. We've been seeing a lot of that. We've been seeing also the same old mistakes a little bit. Near too many men on the ice here. A delay, a supposed puck out of play where they kind of looked like they stopped playing for a little bit, leading up to a goal. So, Brad, looking from the outside looking in, does it look like this Flyer squad has found the success that they had last year?
I think they have. The only difference, though, is that I just think the part of the problem, really, to me, is that they don't play 60 minutes. That is really the problem. to me, they played one real 60-minute game this year, and that was the game against Minnesota, who, by the way, has been utterly fantastic this year, other than the game against the Flyers. That was a 60-minute effort, and they stuck with it. And I watched the game last night, guys. Against San Jose, and I was impressed that when they got ahead 3-0, and then they stopped skating. I mean, it's like, I can't. San Jose is just not a good team. They don't have any real goal scorers. I mean, the true definition of a bad team is when Barclay Goodrow is on your power play. That just tells you just how bad an offense they have. I mean, they've got some speed, but the Flyers basically were very lackluster in their own end again last night in the second and third periods, and it cost them. If not for Michkov just making some great plays, that breakaway he scored was a beauty. The goal in the shootout was a beauty, and Andre, who played an outstanding game last night, I'll tell you what, he should have had at least 3 or 4 assists last night. If Konechny would have actually put the puck in the net instead of to the side of the net or shooting it into the goalie, he would have.
Right.
But I think they're playing a lot better now. They definitely raised their level of play, especially in Florida. Again, last night for a period and a half, they look sensational, and it's almost like they got hungry to score goals, and they forgot about playing in their own end, and they almost cost themselves the game last night. And that's got to change, because you can't be good enough to go into an overtime and a shootout with Florida, okay, and almost beat the Hurricanes and beat the Lightning, and then go out and blow a 3-goal lead against San Jose, and then have to win it on a shootout. You can't do that. That should never happen.
It happens with young teams, though. In terms of losing that focus, that mindset. Right, right.
They've got once they stop doing that, and they're just a little bit more consistent, because you can see their level of play when they're mentally into the game is really good now.
Right,
it really turned it around,
right.
And I was really impressed with the first half of that game. And the Florida game. They really were good in the Florida game. They should have won that game.
Agreed. They put a solid effort. That was a solid effort.
Yeah.
But what you saw though is what you pointed out earlier, Brad, and with TK, and that's a certain lack of finish that you're seeing with numerous amount of players on this team. And we go to the comments to the fam here. Benny Nation goes, he wants to agree to the poll that this is getting us optimistic that they're finding their groove, but they still can't finish their chances. And he makes a great point, coinciding with yours, Brad.
Yeah, it's just they've got to capitalize. And I'll tell you what, that the kid Andre last night, he was sensational last night. He's looking to me, he looks a lot like Brian Leach. He's got that same eyes in the back of his head kind of thing, and the passing. I mean, he made a pass last night to Konechny, which was just unbelievable. And Konechny had a wide open, yawning net, and somehow he went and he put the puck right to the goalie, who was on the other side of the net when he was standing on the right side of the net, and shot it all the way to the left and the goalie made the save. And it's like, how? I mean, all these guys do that. Lafreniere did that tonight too. So it's not just him. But you sit there and you're like, wow, how do these guys miss shots like that? But it's something that the Flyers have got to work on, because they need to score more goals. It's painfully obvious. They look like a pretty good defensive team. Their goalie Urson was tremendous. I'll tell you what, he made 3 saves on that power play in the overtime last night, which were just absolutely fabulous saves.
10 bell
in the game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all 3 of those were A+ scoring opportunities. Look, I think they're definitely on their way, and I agree with Tortorella letting Michkov sit for a few games. You know what? These guys, how many times have you seen rookies hit the wall in the middle of the season?
Right.
Okay. The guy hadn't scored a even strength goal in 2 weeks. Okay, and he was struggling to score. So Tortorella had the kid sit and watch for a few games, and you know what? Against Florida, Tampa Bay, and Carolina, you know what? That's not such a bad thing because he may not have been able to score a goal in those games either, and it just would have shattered his confidence somewhat. So you know what? He was smart. He brought him back against the right team, San Jose, and he had a really good game. And that's
at home.
Yeah, at home, and that was smart. It was really smart for him to do that.
Right.
You know,
let him sit on a trip. Right.
Yeah, I mean, look, the guy's got his whole career ahead of him. Okay. You don't want him to start losing his confidence and start making mental mistakes on the ice. He came out with fire last night, and he played a really, really good game. And boy, does he have mitts! I'll tell you what.
Yeah, I'm not. Me personally, I'm not worried about his confidence. The kid's a workhorse. His confidence is not going anywhere. So even if he goes on a 10-game scoreless, pointless streak, whatever you want to call it, I'm not.
Well,
I'm not worried about
I would hope you don't. I would hope you don't, see something like that. Because again, I think also, it's not a big deal for him to not play 82 games in his first season. You want to see him be, have a lot of fire all season long. It's a long season. If Torts doesn't let him play every single game, I wouldn't be that mad at Torts. Torts is trying to develop him too. I mean, you think he wants to have the team get really good and then get fired and not be able to reap the results at the end?
Yeah, and that's the thing too. You got him looking at the game at a different perspective of a kid who's played a lot of hockey. It's load management. It's something that a lot of teams are doing with the young kids now. It's because they're playing a shit ton of hockey before the draft even starts, and then they're playing more hockey even after that.
Brian, they're playing international.
No break anymore, but it's not. They're
playing junior
break at some point too.
They're playing juniors, then they're playing international hockey. Okay, then they're playing that Traverse City tournament, and then they have training camp, and then they're playing again. Regular season. That's a lot.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, yes. I mean that. Yeah, and that's why I don't think Tortorella was trying to punish him. I think he just felt like he needed a blow.
Yes.
So
just give him a rest.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad idea, and he picked the right teams for him to rest against, and he definitely brought him back against the right team.
And I had this discussion a lot over the weekend because it was definitely a topic within this fan base, and automatically being like, "Oh, it's Torts being Torts. Mitchkov must be in the doghouse." Why? If you're ideally pegging, this is it's 19-year-old who came off the season in the KHL where he played 48 games, I believe. Right? So you think at max he's probably going to play this year is like 65 games, probably more closer to 60, 61, right? In order to hit that mark, you got to sit some games. And why not sit back-to-back games on a road trip, a tough road trip in Florida where he could go, still be there, dressed from the top, dressed up in his suit, watching the game, studying, right? Improving on his metrics 5-on-5 have been decent, but the results haven't been there. Taking a step back and coming back on home ice seems to be what the doctor ordered. And I'll leave it on this point, boys. I know another 19-year-old that was in this Flyers organization that played 61 games in his rookie year, and his name was Eric Lindros. And I'm not saying you to measure up to that, but we're already talking where he could even exceed that. What's up, Matthew? Welcome to the program. So, cool your jets. It's not Torts being Torts. It's load management. It's in hockey, too. It's not just the NBA.
And the other thing, too, Robbie, is this is a kid that, again, we've said this ad nauseum, and I've probably said it ad nauseum, and I'm pretty sure this man right here has probably said it ad nauseum, even though he just joined the show. The KHL is not the same game. It's a much bigger rink. It's different angles. Mitchkov's been turning the puck over quite a bit. Let him take a day and see the angles from a different point of view. That's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing at all. It's him getting just a different point of view is never a bad thing because, in my opinion, you see the angles better. especially sitting up that high because I'm a fan of sitting up that high. I'm a last row in the hockey arena kind of guy. Also because I don't have to sit because I don't like sitting for 3 hours because those seats hurt my ass. But that's a whole nother conversation for a different day.
Hey now.
Point is, sometimes sitting up in the press box, being 18, 19, 20 years old, first year, there's a learning experience there. It's not a punishment. He wasn't in the doghouse. Nobody was pissed off at him. He gives you that effort every night. Sometimes it's a little too much. But give him the time. Let him sit back. Let him watch it from a different perspective. Let him watch some of the stuff on the iPad. Gives you a different perspective on the game. Can probably do something along the lines of just help him with the angles.
Prison Betty just cracking us up in the YouTube chat right now.
That's what Benny does. That's what Benny does. The Benny's been
apparently, Maddie, you were being sat
ball
for the first period due to your load management.
Apparently.
Oh, brother. Mm-hmm.
So what's up, Maddie?
Well, a lot actually. There's pretty good rebounding here from the Flyers, to say the least. After taking that tough loss in Carolina, it would act like they never did take that loss in Carolina to begin with. And even with that shootout loss in Florida, they still rebounded just fine. So that's nice to know. As for the poll question, I would say there's something to be optimistic about for the Flyers. I mean, again, you're going to take losses. That's just how it's going to work. I mean, still a team of youngsters. And leaves in it. No, I didn't have leaves in the hair conditioner. No. It's just a little too oily. I had to go get some new ones before I came onto the show to grace everybody here.
He just put it in.
Yeah.
That bounce doesn't happen naturally.
No. Have to get that shine somehow. That's what I got to do. So, anyway, I will say that after everything that I've seen with this recent stretch with games from the Flyers, there's a lot to be optimistic about. Sure, there are negative points that we could bring up. Sure, I know some people are concerned about Torts benching Michkov. I am aware that, yes, being the young phenom that he is, you would want him to play as much as possible. I understand that. I'm aware of that. I get it. However, Torts does things to send a message. He doesn't do them just because for the hell of it. He wanted to let everybody know, hey, everybody needs to step up here. If I'm willing to sit Michkov, the young phenom who actually have been playing pretty good, if you're not stepping up your game, I'll sit you too.
AKA Morgan Frost right now.
Right. The point being is that at the end of the day, this is why so many people either love or hate Torts. Torts is a straightforward, no-nonsense approach kind of guy. He's going to tell you like it is, and if you don't like it, too bad. If I make the hardcore legend smile, that's a good day. So may he rest in peace.
Harry Funk. Boy, I haven't heard that name in a long time.
Brad, you might remember when he was NWA world champion.
Yeah.
But anyway. So
he beat Ric Flair, did he not?
No, I don't think he beat Ric Flair. No, he didn't beat Ric Flair.
No?
He lost to Ric Flair.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was back in the day of the dinosaurs, and anytime they had to do with paper, they had to take a hammer and a chisel and just kink.
Yeah.
It took about 3 weeks to do one paper for high school.
Yeah.
Right.
Chink, 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 chink. You done yet? It's been an hour. I only got 3 letters done. We're good. Hang on. Clink, 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 clink.
Hey, listen. You need to be patient. That's what makes the perfect. It's perfection. You can't rush it. But anyway, so at the end of the day, all I can say is that there is things to be optimistic about. So I agree. And I do believe that after losses, the Flyers have looked strong in them. Now, one thing, though, that I will say that I did not like, that is correct, Pris. Thank you. One thing I did not like was the fact that you face the worst team in the league in the Sharks and you blow a 3-0 lead to them. That's the kind of shit I don't like, because what that tells me is effort isn't being put in the full 60 minutes. That's what bothers me. Now, yes, the Sharks are going to try and do something. The Sharks, while they are definitely not the greatest team in the world, they are not completely devoid of talent. So the point is that they're going to try for something. They're going to try and, if they can, get 2 points out of you. So knowing that they're going to try and put the effort out, why are you just sitting back and pretending that the game is over? It's not. That's the only thing that's really bugging me. Full 60. Every time. Every night. Against every single team. I don't care what their record is. I don't care if they're last place. That is what I want from you. That's the only thing that bothers me. There's a lot of else. Everything else I think is worked in with time. Offensive issues, they're starting to figure that out. They're starting to get that back up and running. Defensive issues, yeah, they've run into them, but then they have strong defensive performances from certain players. Goaltending. While we've had some issues with goaltending, we've seen goalies step up. Fedotov had his best game of the season not that long ago. So at the end of the
Tampa Bay of all teams.
I know, right? So the point is that things rear back. I just want the full 60. That's the one thing I really want from you guys. So, how do you guys feel about this whole poll question? Since I wasn't here for a couple minutes there.
You definitely touched on a lot of the points that Brad made too. Not playing full 60 and so on, and coughing up 3-0 lead against the San Jose Sharks. But we've talked about this before, boys. How they play up the competition and play down the competition, and that's something that really needs to get. Those are the chinks in the armor right there.
Listen, it happens to everybody. I mean, it's not just the Flyers that do stupid stuff like that. I mean, look at the Rangers losing 6-1 to Buffalo. Can't even begin to explain that one.
Sometimes the bounces just don't go your way.
Sometimes teams just go out there and they don't show up.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah. I mean, it's tough. It's tough to give full 60 every single night. It's good to have that expectation, because that's what the expectation should be, not just from the fan base, from players, front office, coaching staff, all that. That's what the expectation should be. But there's going to be times where it's just you're not going to have the bounces go your way, which I think a couple of those goals against San Jose were just bad bounces. I mean, it's tough because it is a bad team in San Jose. And yes, the Flyers, it's a Philly thing. You play up to the competition, you play down to the competition. It's just, rebuilding hockey is a roller coaster. And when you have two young goaltenders and a rookie 27-year-old goaltender who's pretty much, for the most part, showed us what he's going to be, it leaves a lot to be desired. I mean, Urson had a great 40 minutes, and then in the third period, it just kind of went. But again, I don't necessarily blame him. It's growing.
I don't think any of those goals were his fault last night.
It's all growing pains. It's all stuff that they have to continue to have to.
The Gaudreau goal was just ridiculous, because I think it bounced off of a Flyer defenseman, and then it happened to just go right to him in front of the net, and wide open net. Yeah. That's stuff like that's going to happen when it's not your night.
One other thing I do want to bring up too is that the Flyers are not the only ones going through these kind of problems, by the way. There are a lot of teams that had expectation on them. And while the Flyers may not have had as heavy expectation on them as, say, some other teams, they're not the only ones who are going through these kind of issues. I mean, look at Nashville. for God's sakes, everybody was talking about how this team was going to come out at guns blazing and just be this dominant team.
Mhm.
And look how terrible they've been. Like brutal at times to watch.
They've been a
And
disaster.
Yeah, and to your point, Maddie, did you hear what Barry Trotz said?
yeah, he said if this things don't shape up, he's going to start the rebuild.
Mhm.
I love
And
that.
that's you going out and signing 3 of the biggest free agents in the span of 2 hours. It goes to show you that you can have the best team on paper. That doesn't mean it's going to play well together. But again, you bringing in 3 major players like that onto essentially a relatively young roster that Nashville has. You ship off your young goaltender. You put all your chips in on UC Soros. Sometimes it pays off. Sometimes it doesn't.
Me Metal Mike saying rebuilding at Hooters with torts.
I'm gonna go for some wings right now, actually.
I'm sure that's more than just the wings on that one, but
This is a family show, sort of, maybe not even close. But
since when, dude? When did that become agreed upon? Because if so, I was not at that meeting, and I am very upset about that.
I don't
But
know.
anyway,
maybe 2 years ago when we were, or I'm sorry, our second year in when we were still in the basement.
maybe
Or was that when we were in the studio in Burlington County?
that's a good question. I'm not sure, to be
I don't
honest with
remember.
you. I think it was
I
something
think it
like
was
that.
when Zach Burr was our producer for about 3 weeks, and that's when it kind of took the turn. It just went downhill from there.
So let's see here. Benny's throughout Boston. That's another good team that's been struggling.
You're talking about firing their coach.
I mean, to be fair though, we expected at some point Boston was going to take a step back. We just didn't know when because they were like a damn cockroach. They refused to go away. But it's still long season. So these teams that we mentioned too, who knows? We could be talking about by the time we get to the All-Star break, how Nashville is on the cusp of getting a wild card spot again, and Boston is somehow number 1 in the Atlantic again for some stupid fucking reason. But anyway,
That's the funny thing about the NHL regular season, Maddie. Anything can happen. Remember 2019.
right.
St. Louis
Right.
in dead last.
Mm-hmm.
Raising the Stanley Cup at the end of the year. So just because Nashville's down there now in October, well, early November. Oh God, I'm gonna make another band reference again. Maybe I should be on a music show. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Don't fire me, Tom. Anything can
Hey,
happen. We're
I'll
still-
go get the
we're talking
Hetman
about-
if you want. I'll go get him.
No,
I still got his number.
No. I still got his number.
The
Sorry.
Hetman will return.
I talk to him on a weekly basis. We don't need to have this conversation. I promise. Just don't get Brodo.
I mean, that is the perfect punishment for you, isn't it?
God, you know what's worse? All his videos are still back here too.
Let's see here. Pris saying, I refuse to do adult sober. And
Blame you.
Jesse did say awesome band. And let's see here.
I'm gonna come in next week. I'm gonna get everything all set up. We're gonna get the show started. The next thing you know, this is what's gonna. Tom's gonna come in. And it's gonna be all.
So, as we continue moving forward here, we were talking about the Flyers and their positive play and the positive things that we've seen from now. What major players do you think that you've seen so far, gentlemen, from the beginning of the season to now, you think have either gone on a skid and come back, or have been really good throughout, or really need to get things together here before it's too late? Like, what kind of players do you want to throw out there in particular with those categories?
So I'm gonna go real quick because mine's pretty simple. So my players are the boys at A2D Radio. So if you hit that like, you hit that subscribe, you turn on those notifications, you'll never miss anything we got. Hockey, baseball, Football, Eagles playing great football right now. Never miss anything ATD has to offer. Hit that like, hit that subscribe on all live platforms. And if you miss us live, don't forget to go to Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, Spreaker, wherever you get your podcasts, we're there as well. So hit that like, sub up. We're always with you. But to honestly answer that, I think I'm going to say the one guy that I think has been pretty consistent, despite the fact that he hasn't found the score sheet as consistently, has been Owen Tippett. I think he's continuing to show that he's an offensive force. He's finding open positions on the offensive zone. He's utilizing that speed. His ability just to cut and change direction on a dime has been really helping him out. And playing on the torch, too, has really helped him as well. But it's so early yet. Again, we're still in November. The season doesn't end until mid-April. Season can turn around. But Tippett needs to find the net a little bit more. And I think as long as he keeps putting pucks on the net, he's going to do that. He to me, again, this isn't necessarily on the score sheet or statistical, but for me, he's been one of the most consistent Flyers all season long.
Yeah, I like the way Tippett's played so far this year. I mean, he's always trying to score. There's never a shift where I feel like he's been lazy. And that's a good thing to see, even if he doesn't get on the score sheet.
I think at first, though, to begin the season, he was didn't have the confidence in his shot, though. Over the last 5 games, I think he's more than doubled the shots that he put in the initial 5 games of the season. So, when Tippett's shooting on net, that's usually when positive results happen.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Captain Obvious.
Benny's and Me Metal Mike were throwing out Hathaway. Now, I'm not sure. Do you guys feel like he's been doing well? Do you feel like he's been in the middle? Do you feel like he's been awful? Like, how do you guys feel about Hathaway? Feel free to throw that out there, Benny and Mike. Yeah. So, okay, Benny did actually. Hathaway has not been great. So Benny's threw out his. So just wait for Mike's on that one. But how do you guys feel? Do you agree with Benny on Hathaway?
I think he's been playing typical Hathaway. Just a big pain in the ass that gets under the other team's skin, gets guys off their game, and he scores a few goals. This is what he is. I mean, he's not going to score 20, 25 goals for you. That's not the way he plays. And if you're expecting that, then you got the wrong guy. He's a 4th line player, and I wouldn't be too worried about him.
Well, so Mike says he's been poop. So I'm pretty sure that's pretty self-explanatory right there.
I mean,
what is his role on the team, though, guys?
Well, that's kind of like where I was going to head to, was more like he's not going to be the guy who's going to light the lamp all the time, but he's going to be the guy who's going to be an agitator. He's going to draw penalties. He's going to be the guy in the locker room who's going to be opening up his mouth. He's a guy on the bench who's always talking to somebody. He's a leader. He's not necessarily going to be the guy who's going to, win you 42 games this year, but he's going to be a guy who's going to be effective on the ice, and he's going to make an impact when he's out there, regardless of whether he's, getting an apple on a play, getting a goal, or getting a guy to take an unnecessary penalty because he wanted to elbow him in the face. So yeah, it all depends on what for me, it all depends on what. It all depends on what you're looking at as far as, the question that you posed there, Maddie. It's how do you want to frame it? Like for me, like I said Tippett. Like Tippett's been the most consistent all season long.
Well, Benny's saying don't expect him to score goals. Expect him to be the energy guy and the agitator. Not seeing it this year.
Right, but what I'm not seeing is a fortuitous on the back check, and he's been getting beat a lot when he's supporting the defense, and we've seen the poor defensive play in front of the goaltenders because of that. He's not alone in that, so that's something that really needs to that you really it's a disappointment because Hathaway's supposed to be leading the way for the younger kids in that, and I haven't seen it so far.
That's a fair point.
Priz is saying Lawton is my answer for reasons.
But I think I'll throw two names in the ring in terms of on the positive, like Owen Tippett, that I've been really seeing positive play from Bobby Brink. And talk about you want guys that can finish. Well, we've seen him finish a couple times over the course of this trip, right? Coming back home to San Jose on Monday, but also too a guy that we called out last week. And I've seen a really improved consistency, like to your point, Brian, like Tippett, and that's Joel Farabee as well.
Yes. Two great names there, Robbie, because you know what? Brink didn't start off the season great. I thought he made a couple mistakes here and there. He was kind of looking like he was a little nervous, I guess, in a way. But he's really come around. He's playing a little bit more of a confident game. He's skating faster. He's using his vision. And he's again, just like Tippett's been, he's finding ways to get the puck on net. Not necessarily shooting for a goal, but, trying to make a play. Farabee, too. Farabee, that game in, Tampa? Outstanding. Outstanding game. Couple of really good chances. It's a shame he could have probably easily had a hat trick in that game. Right. But I'm just happy he at least got the goal in Florida. He's another one playing a very confident game right now too, finding the open position and doing a very good job of finding the open shooting lanes.
So Mike's saying Tyson Forster is struggling, which is true. He's been having a little bit of a rough. I would say he falls into more of the medium category. I wouldn't say that he's been so bad that he's been terrible, but he has looked a little rough at times here and there.
He's getting a lot of scoring opportunities either. That should really be a concern.
And then he also says Emil Andre needs to stay in the lineup. And
he's not going nowhere. Don't worry about that. He's not going anywhere. And by the way, what?
James Reimer was not the problem.
What? He's got like a 4 or 5 goals against, bro. His save percentage is like 850 something. What do you mean he's a problem? Don't think he has a win as a Duck. Thank God Gibby's back.
I don't think Reimer has played really consistently on a team since I think the Sharks, and the only reason why was because the Sharks were terrible. So
I think you're right there, Matty. He's been bouncing around. He's been a kind of a bridge goalie. The only reason why the Ducks even have him is because of the appendectomy that Gibson had emergency surgery on. It finally just came back. Just bear with me. I'm pulling up his stats. My brain is going like a million miles a minute at the second. Why is the stats not coming up? ESPN.
Because you want to look them up. That's why.
Yeah, pretty much. It's just ESPN.
But in the meantime, while you're looking that up, Mike was asking about Pavel Datsyuk's Hall of Fame thoughts.
Superstar player.
I mean,
unbelievable talent.
He was an exceptional talent. I mean, what? What?
I said I was spot on. 4.5 goals against, 0 for 2, and a 8.64 goals against or save percentage. God, I'm too good for this.
Well,
why I do this.
Well, when with that kind of stats, he either is a European-bound player or he is sticking into the minors for a little while. If he wants to continue.
I gotta be careful flexing that hard. I might pull something.
But yeah, I mean, Pavel Datsyuk going into the Hall of Fame. Yeah. Besides him, Jeremy Roenick, which was awesome to see that he was going into the Hall of Fame. So that was great to see.
Mm-hmm.
Now do the right thing and go in as a Flyer.
No. He'll probably go in as a Blackhawk.
Yeah, he's got to.
Yeah.
You would think.
No. Watch him fool us all, and he'll go in as a coyote. So.
Oh God.
You're the last
What?
one to go in as a coyote. Well, Shane don't, but
He was in that organization twice. So.
no, he's either going to wind up going in as a Flyer, or he's going to wind up going in as a Blackhawk. It's going to be one of the two because that's the two biggest teams that he had an impact on.
It's most likely the Blackhawks. I know he achieved the milestone of, I believe it was 500 points with the Flyers. And that was, I think he was the third or fourth American-born player to do that. I think Madonna was the first. So that was a big deal. And then, of course, the OT goal he got against Toronto in 2004. When we beat the Leafs in 6 games. That's like the biggest things you pull from Jeremy Roenick's time as a Philadelphia Flyer. Not that he wasn't great. Just Benny say he's going in as a Shark for the 2 seasons he played in San Jose.
Don't worry, Chris. He'll go in as a Blackhawk. I don't want to ruin your high.
Well, he could go in as a King. He was on the Kings too.
Don't worry. The Hoff's got you, bro. The Hoff's got you. Don't worry.
Anyway.
What a specimen he was back then. Look at that. Sorry.
They love him in Germany.
They do.
They also love shit porn there too. So, you know.
Oh, no. He's talking about the German Scheisse videos again.
Hey, listen. That's what Germany is either known for. I mean, I hate to say it. It's kind of weird. But anyway.
Don't want to look at Maddie's internet history.
No, that's just disgusting. If that's what you're into, then that's just like, damn, man. Like, what is wrong with you up there, man? Ooh, there's some brutal. Anyway,
to each your own. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you keep that. You keep that forever if you wish. Anyway, so
I don't even want to know what Benny's talking about. Fondest memories.
We're talking about that, and that's your fondest memory. Damn, Benny. What the hell kind of parties were you going to, bro? Jeez. Anyway. So let's see here. Mike's saying, thoughts on the 04 run by the Fly Guys. I was too young. How great was that run? It was fun. It was fun to see the Flyers with a bunch of old guys try to see if they could win the Stanley Cup. Didn't happen, but it was nice to see.
Oddly enough, run off the train tracks by John Tortorella in the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yeah, ironically enough, right? To be fair, though. Oh, yeah, Rob.
Did they pair Roenick with Amante, right?
Yeah.
They got Amante? Yeah.
And they had Jamnov because they were all Blackhawks. So they all put them together on the same line.
Right.
They had like a Blackhawks
Leclerc was on that line
collection.
too.
Yeah. What did you say, Brian?
I thought Leclerc was on that line. Oh no, this was after Leclerc because Amante had 10.
Well, Leclerc was there though. He was still on the team.
Was he?
Yeah, he was.
Amante wore 10.
I think Leclerc eventually left the team before Amante did.
Well, that's what I mean. If Amante was on that team in 04, which he was, Leclerc was gone by then. So my brain's mush.
By the way, Heather says she loves this family show.
There's nothing family about this show anymore.
We went from rated R to rated X, and it didn't take much. But anyway.
No.
He wore
not X.
Benny wore 11. Benny didn't wear 11. Amante wore 11.
Benny did.
Benny, did you play on a team and wore 11? Let us know. I
reached out to Tony Amante once, and he ignored me.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Happens.
Let's see if that's accurate, because I do trust Benny, but I just want to double check.
Besides that, though, to be fair, though,
Balls, he's right.
To be fair, though, the Flyers did actually have some young players actually back then. They did have a young Simon Gagne in his prime. They did have a young up-and-coming player by the name of Patrick Sharp. They did have Justin Williams at the time. They had Dennis Seidenberg at the time. So that's 4 players right there I just rattled off. All of them were young and up-and-coming at that point. And guess how many years they spent in a Flyers jersey? Not many. Because their asses were traded very quickly.
Okay, so John Clare did have that 2-year stretch with Tony Monti, so there was a point in time where I'm sure they did play on the same line together.
Right. Fedorik Fridge, now in the booth. He was on that team.
Yeah.
And then another former goaltender, I believe, in Jeff Hackett from the Blackhawks, right?
That's true. To be fair, though, I think Jeff Hackett played on like 20 different teams during his career.
True. That's a good point.
Him and Sean
Bundy was on that team still. Nice.
Bundy, yeah, he was still around. And also another goalie that was well traveled was Sean Burke. He also made an appearance in Philadelphia.
Michael Handzus. Michael Handzus was a phenomenal player. Phenomenal player.
Handzus.
We love Michael Handzus.
Ranger
Zeus.
killer.
Yeah.
Ranger killer, yep, he definitely was.
He used to kill. He killed the Rangers. Even he went, and I think you guys traded him to Chicago.
Yep,
if I'm not mistaken. And Chicago, I used to kill him with Chicago because I used to think it was just a Flyer thing, And then I look up in Chicago, he's scoring goals against us, with Chicago. It's like, all right, whatever.
Oh yeah, and that's right. We did have Eric Weinrich too.
Dave Babbage was another one.
And then
I don't think he was ever a Blackhawk, though.
Pris saying, thanks for Patty Sharp. Yeah, you're welcome.
That was the year I was on ESPN. That's right, in 2004. Because I went to, I believe it was either Game 3 or Game 4, where Bobby Esch shut out the Devils. I think it was like 3 or 4-0. I went to that playoff game, and that was back in the days where I wore face paint to everything, and I had the face I had the face blacked out with orange on the eyes. So when I closed, it was just like an orange, for my eyes. And I had long hair at the time, if you can imagine that. And I had that spray painted orange because that was it. I mean, silver because that was in the logo, right? And it just so happened when I came in and took my seats, I sit down next to a 6'3", 235-pound ball guy in all red face paint and horns, and we're sitting next to each other during this game. Could have been the nicest guy to talk hockey the whole game. We enjoyed the game so thoroughly, and it was great. I had the last laugh, but it was just I thought I was gonna die. I really thought I was gonna die. I don't know how I survived, but it was because he was a nice guy. But that we were on it. That was nice. People told us we were on TV.
There you go. There's a good memory right there for you. For you, Mike, definitely a good one for you. They said I start Special Olympics floor hockey tomorrow. Oh, nice. Hey, good luck to you, brother. Hopefully you succeed, man.
That's what I played, goalie. So I have mad respect.
But yeah, I would say the 2004 too. Also, that was a thing that cemented Simon Gagne as my favorite because he scored that winner in Game 6 to push Game 7 against Tampa. That was that was so cool. And then he also did it again in 2010 when he beat the Bruins in Game 4 to start that big comeback for us. That was Gagne. He just found a way to score, like Danny and like Primo. It's just hey, you need a goal, they're going to go get it. But anyway, so as we start to continue forward, was there anybody else we wanted to throw out for the current roster of Flyers that we wanted to talk about here in terms of that before we move on to Flyer Senators preview?
A couple of players. Frost, who's got to get his shit together, no question. He seems to be invisible out there. And you guys mentioned Forrester. He's not getting enough opportunities either. So
there you go, Press. So this wasn't the jersey I was looking for. I thought I still had my Flyers 3D jersey laying around somewhere. I guess I got rid of it.
Yeah, those guys have to get their acts together. And again, that that kid last night, Andre, played a great game. Like to see more of him.
So I'll give a couple players for me before we move on. By the way, one thing I did want to say too, did you guys ever? I hope someone had a freaking like speed gun out for freaking Richard's goal in that San Jose game, because my God, he got the puck. Him and Andre got the puck, and they didn't look back. They were charging up the ice.
Thank you so much, Maddie. That's the player I forgot, right? So Mitchkov sits, who they call up, right? Richard, who, going back to the preseason, was probably one of the best players for the Flyers during the preseason, and got the demotion to AHL, and he hasn't stopped. He's performed well down there for the Phantoms, and came back and looked good, and to a point where, in terms of when you want to rotate a Delorier, maybe even a Garnet Hathaway, as we were talking about earlier, out of the lineup, that's a way where you could maybe increase your scoring, and this team is beginning to show a little bit of depth that's only going to continue to grow.
Absolutely. And it was just crazy. I saw that the speed was just, whew, my God. I'm surprised they even got a time to take a shot off. I thought they were just going to speed right on by with the puck and even forget to shoot the damn thing. Like, holy hell. But on top of that as well, couple players that I want to throw out there. One is I'm still kind of having my issues with Coots. I want him to. I feel like he's still not having that much of an impact. And that's kind of bothering me. I get that he does other smaller things that you don't necessarily see. I get that. But at the same time, it's like, if your team is, like either blowing a 3-goal lead or a team's really not getting their offense going, it's like, you're captain. I cannot stress that anymore. You're captain. Where is it? It's like, come on. That just frustrates me, because it's like maybe I expect too much out of him. Maybe I do. But I don't think so. He's supposed to be our captain. It's like, I expect you to be the guy. If our team is struggling offensively, you should be the first guy to be going head first into that net or trying to get that scoring opportunity going. And sometimes I feel like he's just been pedestrian at times out there on the ice. It's like, I hate to say it, that's kind of unacceptable. If I was looking at it from that perspective, that's kind of unacceptable from your captain. That shouldn't be the case.
No, it shouldn't be the case. And he has a choice right now, Maddie, right? Do you want to be a placeholder captain, or do you want to be a captain that leads this team and leads by example, but that could be on and off the ice, right? If he's playing up to the capability that his body will let him play hard and play all 60, and let the younger kids watch you do that.
And I agree with both of you. Like, I definitely see both sides of the coin here. I try and, oh my God, I can't believe I'm actually going to make this reference considering what I'm wearing right now. But when I kind of look at my expectations for who my captain is going to be, I look at Jonathan Toews. Prez, you can, whatever. But Jonathan Toews was a captain. He was the guy that he would, be the example on and off the ice. He would be vocal on the bench. He would be the guy talking to the guys on the ice. Not saying that Coots doesn't do that, but we're also, Johnny T got the captaincy when he was also a lot younger than Coots was. But I think Coots is doing a fine job. I don't necessarily, just based off of what I get a chance to see, and there's people out there that see a lot more than I do. Right. But from what I get to see, like, I see him talking to the young guys. No, he may not be on the ice for every single scoring opportunity. He may not be creating directly every scoring opportunity, but I really do feel like he's out there making a difference and making an impact in some way, shape, or form, even if it doesn't seem like it's a direct impact to what is happening on the ice at that moment.
I remember that, Praise. I remember that. I remember that. And to Obi-Wan's point too, yeah, he did play well Monday. And I'm not saying that he's not taking on the leadership role. He just has a choice where it could go one of two ways. Because if you have a player like a Mitchkov, or potentially if you're drafting that generational player in this upcoming loaded draft, right? One of those two players, either Mitchkov or player to be named later, is going to be the future captain of this team, right? But does Coots want to, hold on to that C and let those boys learn under leadership tree underneath him with A's on their sweater? I like to see that rather than just slapping the C right on a young kid's chest and the pressures that come with that. But that could easily, it can go that way with the talent level that we're seeing and will be seeing. That was crazy, man. When you just click back, it had you in the Blackhawks jersey for a split second, and then you were in the black tee. I shit you not.
I missed it.
It was like a glitch in the Matrix. I just saw it.
I love the Matrix. Well, not the movies. The movies kind of suck, but
But
was all right.
I will say too, one other thing, and Benny actually talked about this with TK. I hate to say, I feel like TK's had more of an impact in my opinion.
Okay.
Like, I feel like he's been more, I guess you would say, visible, to be on a more like neutral word right there. And I feel like that shows. I feel like it's like, okay, yeah, I'm seeing that fire from TK. I'm seeing that fight from him. Even in a bad game, I'm still seeing him doing everything he can. I mean, he'll fire shots at the net anytime, and just to see what will happen. Sometimes it's really not necessary for him to do it, but he'll do it anyway. But
yeah, but the thing too, you got to remember, Maddie, is TK and Coots are very different style of players too.
I get it. One can be also a little bit more hot-headed than the other. One can also be a little bit more fiery than the other. I get that. And maybe the idea of having a goal-scoring, shoot first, ask questions later kind of captain, or a guy who's going to try and set the play up a lot more often than not, maybe that's why I'm so used to that mode and that modus operandi for a captain, since Giroux was captain for so long here, and that was his MO in every single game. So the point is, maybe I'm so used to that, I forget that you don't always have to show up on the score sheet to make the impact. But at the same time, I just feel like I've seen TK make more of an impact right now than Coots. So in a way, it's just kind of conflicting with me. It's like, I don't know how to feel about that. Like, I understand why you put the C on Coots, and it's not that I hate Coots. I want Coots to be here as captain. Just like I feel like I'm seeing more from TK right now. It's a fight in my head that it's been going on for the better part of game one, right? And it just continues to go as the season has continued.
Yeah. And I get it. And the other thing too, before I jump in on the Senators preview here, is again, we're going to jump back, two very different styles. Offensive explosion. That's essentially TK's game. Selke, you got a 200-foot player and an offensive player.
Right.
A lot of teams are going to lean towards the guy that plays a full 200-foot game for their captain. Not always the case, but I feel like more times than not, the guy who's going to be up for the Selke is going to wind up being the better captain. But that's just the things that I've noticed. Somebody else could have noticed something else too. But as far as like the captain debate, I mean, it is what it is. We can sit here, we can discuss who would have been better, but we're going into a full season with Coots as captain. He is playing better this year. He's been a lot more noticeable overall. I'm still good with it until he proves me otherwise. To the point where he himself, while wearing that C, loses the locker room. And I don't think that's going to happen. I think that the boys in that locker room have way too much respect for him.
No, and you are correct on that. I don't think he has. It's definitely, he's still very much got the voice that they want to hear. A person saying, yeah, but he'd get less than Coots would if they were truly rebuilding. It still feels like a soft rebuild, plus Lawton's cheaper. Yeah, because he was talking about Lawton being captain, which I don't know about that necessarily. Only because I don't feel like Lawton is necessarily the immediate choice you would go to if you were planning on trading him. That's the thing that kind of holds off on that one for me with Lawton. But anyway, so let's get into it. Flyers Senators battle between two teams. One that's trying to make a run for a playoff spot. The Flyers are kind of in a similar position. Only difference is where it kind of feels like, correct me if I'm wrong, but from the vibe check that I'm getting here, for the Flyers, it's a status quo. Hey, steady as she goes. We know what we're doing. We've got our plan. We're moving forward despite results. Whereas with Ottawa, I feel like it's kind of like they're starting to tug at the collar a little bit. They're starting to have like that frustration of when are we going to see the move up in the standings? When are we going to see some playoff hockey in Ottawa? Is it impatience? I think it is. But how do you guys feel about it? Do you feel like Ottawa's, as a team, do you feel like that this is the position that they're in? And how do you think that correlates to them when they face off with the Flyers?
Well, really, we talk about so much with Flyers and how well or how lack of well they've been playing 5-on-5. But one thing that they've been playing really well on, and that's on the special teams, particularly on the penalty kill. So really, this battle on Thursday is going to be a matchup of strength versus strength and weakness versus weakness, because when it comes to success on the power play, Ottawa's fourth best in the league right now with an ungodly 31.1% success rate on the power play, and the Flyers are third in the league with a kill rate at 90.4. So that's going to be a real interesting battle. What's going to be interesting, though, even more is the Ottawa Senators penalty kill is 20th in the league, whereas the Flyers they've shown some promise on the power play, in which with Mitch in tow, where I think he's really shown more of his prowess on the penalty kill. I mean, on the power play. So I can expect to see Flyers have the edge there. It just depends on can they play disciplined hockey and keep the power play opportunities for the Senators at a minimum.
No,
Definitely.
I agree, Robbie. That was going to be my whole point, but yeah, you went ahead and stole it, you thief. But no, it's all good.
How can you
Somebody's
steal
got to
something
say it,
that
and I
was
don't
never
care who
yours?
says it as long as it's said. The one thing I would like to kind of bring up is the fact that Linus Ullmark and Anton Forsberg have been very good in net for Ottawa so far. They are, I believe, 7-7 on the year,
8-7 now. They shut out the Leafs tonight.
Oh, that's fun. So they're going into their Flyers are going to face them on Thursday after winning 2 games in a row.
Correct. They just
fun.
beat the Bruins, and now they just shut out the Leafs. So they're
fun. That's great. So Ottawa is
Ottawa's been playing pretty well lately.
No, they have been. They are 5-5 in their last 10 games, beating the likes of Toronto, Boston, Seattle, St. Louis. They beat Utah, but I don't think a lot of people think Utah's really as all they're cracked up to be as when they started the season. But I mean, don't sleep on this Ottawa team. Drake Batherson's a stud. Obviously, Giroux. They're a very quick team, and they definitely know how to play defense too. But they got to figure out ways to figure out this tandem.
They got to figure out how to win.
Have a goals against under 3, both of them.
They have to figure out how to win games. I think that's because they've got a lot of talent on that team.
So, I believe, Bri, you said there's some breaking news to talk about.
Well, I did, and Robbie did. But
Robbie did. I'm sorry, Robbie. You said there was some breaking news. My bad.
Well, yeah, I mean, it came out before we went on, but I figured we'd wait, after we had, this is Flyers talk, and this is the other side of Pennsylvania. But, take a look in the standings. Ottawa Senators have crept in third in the Atlantic, but if you look further down below the Flyers is the Pittsburgh Penguins, and then this came out today, so... it's apparently open season, boys, and they tried to keep it together with Band-Aids with an aging team, and Crosby's going to retire a Penguin, so I get why he's saying except Crosby, but You know, this could be a time where a team, you know, like that, you know, that's on the outside looking in, maybe can pick up a piece.
Yeah, I think they've already made one trade today already. I'm going to double check that one. It was Lars Eller. Well, Lars Eller got traded back to Washington for, I think it was a 2027 fifth.
What, is Lars Eller like 67 years old now?
Something like that.
I can't believe he's still playing.
He's younger than me. That just still makes me really annoyed, but whatever. I hate age. Aging.
The
sucks.
problem with Pittsburgh is they got a lot of old players and they make a lot of money, so it's not going to be easy to trade these guys.
Well, I mean, it's the natural ebb and flow of, you know, you have your dynasty, sadly for Pittsburgh, and then you eventually have the decline. We saw it start, and it's been going for a little bit. They've been still able to make the playoffs, but you know that's like, well, this isn't exactly the same team that won 2 straight cups. This is a team that's very different from back in the day, and we saw that. They lost to the Islanders twice, I believe, and then one time the Islanders swept them right out of the playoffs, which was very shocking. And then they lost to Montreal in the bubble, and that's why the Flyers faced Montreal that year. So it's like it was clearly obvious.
Then they lost to the Rangers.
They lost to the Rangers.
Yeah, in overtime.
Mhm.
On a power play. That must have been a bitter pill to swallow for them after they blew a 3-1 lead in that series, and they haven't made the playoffs since.
Yeah.
Benny brings up a good point. Pittsburgh will retain a lot of money because they're going to have to. The second thing is, Ellers went back to Washington for a 3rd round pick in 27 and a 5th round pick in 25, which is actually Chicago's picks. Pick.
Yeah, right.
The 5th is the pick.
They got some players on their team, though. I'll tell you.
They're making a push for Ovi while he's going into his last year of his contract next year. It's going to be his last year in the NHL.
Could be this year. If he breaks Gretzky's record, does he leave after this year? No,
he's still in the contract. He can't leave.
Okay.
He
could retire though.
He's not going to. He'll honor his contract.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Priz was asking, what does this mean for Malkin, and do we see DeBrincat for a Malkin swap? I feel like Alex DeBrincat you would bring in if you're ready to compete now. I don't necessarily why you would swap Malkin for DeBrincat. Malkin. I mean, at this stage in his career, you know, is he the goal scorer he used to be? Maybe not necessarily, but he does bring experience to a locker room. So if you're a younger team that's competing right now, couldn't hurt to have a guy like Malkin to be the voice in the locker room. But
he's making big money though.
That's the big issue, though, is the money.
All those, I mean, him and what's his name, the defenseman,
Carlson.
And what's his name? The other great defenseman, past his prime.
Kevin Letang.
Yeah, Letang. He's another one. I mean,
my gosh,
they're all making a fortune.
Meanwhile, Mike, by the way, says Letang to Dallas.
But the thing is nowadays teams are retaining money on these contracts, and they're bringing in brokers to take another 25%. Money's not an issue for some of these teams that are looking to make a trade. Malkin probably not going to get swapped out for DeBrincat. Detroit does that; they're stupid. The guy needs to be fired immediately.
Well, let's see here.
I would think they could use Carlson though. Carlson would be a good fit on Detroit.
That's actually a good idea.
Carlson would be good for. I mean, Carlson's always been a good offensive player. Even though he's a D-man, his defensive skills aren't there. But I think it's been his offensive touch that's been such an important part to his makeup for his career. I mean, this might sound kind of funny, but You think Ottawa might be interested in bringing him back?
No.
I
They got their
know.
old guy leader. That's Giroux.
I know that they did not part on the best of terms. They did not. That's the whole reason why he made a run to the Bay Area as soon as he possibly could. And he got a nice payday out of it, too. But I don't know. It was an idea, considering that it's a team that's up and coming, wants to make the playoffs.
I think they're pretty set with Zub, Bernard Docker, Jake Sanderson, and Thomas Shabbat being like their big key pieces on defense.
Okay.
Or
All right.
Zub or Zub or however you want to say his last name. ZUB.
Zuber.
We couldn't
He's
grab
been
Carlson.
injured too.
Yeah. I don't. We can't grab Carlson. He's got too much money. I don't think we would have. We don't have the cap space to afford him.
No, that's the whole problem with most of that team is that they got. Rust would be a nice pickup for somebody too.
Rust is not a bad player.
Yeah.
He's not old like the other guys are.
Yeah, Drysdale, unfortunately.
Is that his shoulder again?
No, it's
They
upper
haven't
body.
been. They've been very vague about it, but it's an
Uh-oh.
upper body injury. And they did put him on IR.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
He's only going to be on IR for a week anyway, so it's probably nothing serious.
Right.
Okay, well that's good news. Carlson to the Jets. How do you guys feel about that one?
I bet you they have the space for it.
I mean,
Probably do.
the Jets are currently playing real well, and
Yes,
obviously
they are.
they don't want to happen what happened last year in the playoffs, where you had a good season and then you got completely stomped by Colorado. So
They have a lot of guys that are playing over their heads though right now. Yeah. And do you believe in the Mestikov or Gabe Velarde? That they're that good? Because I'm kind of not buying it, even though they're having good seasons and they're playing great. They played great tonight.
I mean, that's the thing about Winnipeg is that they, Obi-Wan's saying the Jets don't need any help.
Yeah.
Chris saying you swap Risto and picks for Carlson on a retained salary. I mean, I understand Pittsburgh is now just taking whatever, but do you think they would even want Risto?
No. They're gonna want young players.
Um,
They're not gonna want old players. They're gonna want draft picks or guys that are under 25.
Well, if the old player's on a expiring contract, they'll probably take that too.
Depends
could
on who it is.
No, if it's on a retaining contract and they're looking to rebuild, and the contract is over at the end of the year, they'll take the contract to stay on the cap floor.
I don't know if Carlson could go to South Florida. I don't think do the Panthers even have space?
No.
It's not even. I think we're just being silly here at this point. Like, let's be real. Carlson probably not going anywhere. Probably has a full no movement clause on his contract. So if he's happy in Pittsburgh, he's not going anywhere.
I mean, it's not like he hasn't been on teams that have been on the decline before. His time in San Jose will attest to that. So, I mean,
It's not like he had a choice.
no, he did not.
But we just read that Dubas said everybody's available. So is it William Karlsson part of everybody?
Yeah.
No,
I get it. They
agreed.
have to retain some money, and you also have deadline cap space where if you make the move on the day, you have, like, for example, Flyers could wiggle enough room to get $3 million under in the cap on deadline day. So, if Pittsburgh retains that, I doubt you see it interstate, but I mean, I'm just saying another team could probably do something that has even a little more wiggle room, like, say, per se, the Winnipeg Jets.
Mhm.
And I think if I'm William Karlsson, the way the Jets are playing, what's been have you watched any of the game tonight, Brad, or are you watching
Yeah,
it
I watched
after?
most of it.
I haven't caught any. What's
I think
that
I
been?
think the Jets are playing very fortunate hockey right now.
Oh, is that right?
I look at their roster, and I'm sorry, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. I know they're winning, and they're tonight. Igor Shesterkin played, and he was awful. You know, and and Mika Zibanejad again with some incredibly bad turnovers, and Andre Miller as usual out of position, and they're scoring when he's out there. But I'm sorry, the Jets are not. I know they just whacked Dallas. They beat the Rangers tonight.
They're 15-1 though, man. I mean, whatever their roster looks like, it's working.
But it's it's 15-1 at the beginning of the season in November.
True.
Are they going to be 15-1 in March and April?
Hellebuck is probably the best goaltender in the league right now.
That's the thing. Yeah,
He arguably,
they built that defense really well too. So the thing is, also remember too, it's not always the roster of players that you guys that makes a team good or not. It's the coach's system and if the players buy into it. I mean, how many teams do we have in this league right now that are playoff contenders that don't have a single superstar on their roster?
This is interesting. So I was taking a look at Carlson's contract, and it's still ridiculous just looking at it because this is the contract he signed with the Sharks, which was 8 years, $92 million. Just the fact that the bonus was 53 and the annual hit was about 11.5. But says here from the cap side of things that it drops off in the last couple of seasons to $4 million in 25-26 and then $1 million in 26-27. Those would be his 35 and 36 year age seasons.
Yeah, well,
so it's front loaded. Okay,
heavily front loaded. It looks like. So, I mean...
He's like, give me my fucking money. That's what he's like.
Give it to me now.
That's just, I mean... if somebody's looking at that, but again, it's all depending upon what you need at that moment, I guess. But also on top of it as well, it's... what kind of impact do you think the player is going to have on your team? One of the things that we have to, I think one of the things you have to keep in mind is it's like, okay, so in this time in the NHL, I feel like it's a little bit more of what are you going to do for me than necessarily what have you done? I don't think anyone's necessarily looking at Erik Karlsson and immediately saying like, oh my God, we got to have him on our team because of the fact that it's just like, well, has he really helped the Penguins become competitive again? No, he has not. Was he that big in San Jose for them to stop the tide of them declining? No, that still happened at the end of the day. So it's like, I feel like it's kind of like, I don't know. That's just me. I feel like old logic is kind of not there anymore, where it's just like, oh my God, so-and-so, okay, let's bring him onto the team. Of course, like I said before, you had no salary cap back then. You didn't have to care. But Heather's saying money talks, which it does.
Still overlooking the fact that he has a full no movement clause until the end of his contract. So,
yeah,
that is true.
So to Rob's point earlier, like I agree with him. Like, yeah, he may be available, but if he doesn't want to go to that place, he's not gonna go.
It's cold, Winnipeg, man. I don't know if he want to go 15-1 or not. It's cold.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I wouldn't want to go. Winnipeg is, from what I hear, is not a great city.
I've heard.
Don't they wear robes to their games too? Damn, man.
I've heard that's.
Is that the right team I'm thinking about?
I heard that's like the running gag too. I've heard in the NHL, it's like that's the new Siberia has been over to Winnipeg. So
the one thing to also keep an eye on too.
Tristan Jarry, the goalie.
They just locked him up. He's not going anywhere. They don't have a goaltender anyway.
Well, Jarry wasn't that old. So how old was Jarry?
They said everybody.
I don't even think Jarry's 30 yet.
So, I mean, Jarry could stick around for a little bit.
Jarry's 29.
He's 29.
Yeah.
But
If
the
you
one
do,
thing I'll jump back to Carson's contract real quick is he is buyout eligible after this year. So if he does decide I'm not getting traded, they can buy him out if they wanted to.
they probably will if his contract starts to become less. So it's like, what's the point of keeping him around? And then it's only 2 years.
I mean,
So it's not really the end of it.
His cap hit's still 11.5.
Oh, it's still now. Yeah, this year it is.
No, for the next 2 years, it's still this year and the next 2 years is still 11.5.
Oh, then you know what I was looking at? I think I was looking at the bonus. I think that's what I was looking
bonus
at.
or his salary. His salary drops over the next 2 years from 11 to 9 to 7.5.
Then that's what I was looking at. Okay.
Yeah, his salary drops, but his cap hit remains the same.
Interesting.
Conversely, it's not the Winnipeg Jets. Florida Panthers, who the Flyers faced, and now I remember hearing the story during the broadcast of how they wear robes to their games. You can get away with that in Florida, but maybe not on road trips to Winnipeg.
They're nutty down there. That's a nutty place.
Sunrise, an interesting fan base. They throw rats on the ice.
You guys
They
ever
wear
see
the robes to the games. I understand the rat story, but it's like
Have you guys ever seen Monty Python and the Holy Grail?
Yes.
You remember this scene where they're like, "Let's go to Camelot," and then they go into this whole like music bit, and then he's like, maybe not. Camelot's a silly place."
Yeah.
That's Florida. Everybody's like, "Let's go to Florida. Let's go to Miami. Let's go to Disney." And then there's this whole song and dance, little music number, and you're like, on second thought, maybe not. It's kind of silly down there.
Yeah.
If the Winnipeg Jets win the Stanley Cup,
there's a lot harsher way to say it, but I just decided to take the high road this time.
Yes.
Prism saying Carlson to Vegas after the obligatory Stone LTIR.
Yeah. All right, boys, let's wrap this show up.
All right. So, before we close this one out, let's get a score real quick. Flyers, Senators.
I'm going to go Ottawa. 6-3 Ottawa. Wow.
6-3
Okay.
Ottawa. Okay.
I jumped the gun, so you all go.
I have 4-3 Flyers.
4-3 Flyers.
We're going to go
Okay.
quarantine five out of their last 6 games.
All right. I'm gonna go 4-2 Flyers.
5-2 Flyers. It's like $1. $1 over you. But that's just what I had in mind. I just I mean, it's tough road. It's a bold prediction going up, up north of the border, and they have been playing well of recent. But I go back to that power play matchup. I mean, they're gonna have to step up and face a tough power play. But I think they'll have the decided advantage if they have the opportunity.
You know what's funny? You're pretty much Price is Writing Brad there, or you could be Price is Writing me. I haven't really figured that part out yet, but my brain is dead for the night. I got freaking Prices Righted for my football pool this week, my pick'em pool. Dude just beat me by points. We were tied and going into the game on Monday. I'm the only one who picked Miami out of everybody, and this dude beat me on points because he was closer to 38. I was not happy. I'm not happy. I'm still a little angry about it, if I'm going to be perfectly honest.
You're allowed to be. I would be mad too.
So, while Brian sulks in his sorrows over his fantasy football loss.
Oh, fantasy football is a whole nother story. That's a lost cause.
Oh.
I gave up the fantasy football. Every time I picked a team, I picked a really good team, and the whole team would get hurt. It happened 3 years in a row, and I was like, you know what? I'm done.
That's where I'm at. I'm hurt all the time. My team sucks. The guys I put on the bench have great games. The guys I put in the lineup suck. I hate fantasy football.
So, Chris was saying womp womp. By the way, from the score predictions, Priz says Senators 4-2. Obi-Wan says 4-3 Flyers shootout win. Me, Metal Mike saying 5-2 Flyers win. Heather saying 5-3 Ottawa. Hate to say it. I hope I'm wrong. So we got a kind of an even split here on this one. Interesting. So speaking of that, what's the poll results?
They didn't put it in the YouTube chat.
Oh, so it's not there? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, then
though.
We'll close it out. All right, so if you have anything that's causing you sorrow and you wish to physically get that fixed, specialized physical therapy is the place to go. Dr. Paul Vidal, his team's over in Cherry Hill, Burlington, New Jersey. Great crew. They can take care of any aches and pains that you may have. Just hit the doc up at www.specializedphysicaltherapy.com. You will be sorrowful no more. You will enjoy yourself after a few sessions with the doc.
What if I need emotional?
Well, I mean, hey, listen, sometimes a good therapy session, even a physical one, is enough to make you feel a little bit better, even on the inside, not just on
Doc,
the outside.
I'm coming in, Doc.
Brian, this is a safe space. Spill your guts.
Are we sure?
I
don't trust it.
I can almost 20% say it is.
Only 20%?
Only 20. If I go any higher, I feel like I'm lying to myself. So anyway,
in a higher percentage than I am. I'm in that 1%, that's like, if I spill my guts to you guys, it's game on.
All right. Okay, guys. So
like
we thank everybody for joining us for this edition of Flyers Talk A2D. We hope everybody has a fun and enjoyable week. And hopefully you guys enjoy the Flyers Senators matchup coming up to you guys. And hopefully the Flyers get a win. Hopefully.
Hoff says so.
Crossed. Good. And next week we will be back for another Flyers Talk A2D. And just to take a quick look here, see if we have a game next week.
No game.
Nope.
They play Monday. They play Monday and Wednesday. I think it's Avalanche and Caps. Monday, Wednesday.
Monday is the Avs and the Hurricanes on Wednesday. So those will be the games. And we're sandwiched in between that. So there you go. All right. So next week we will see you. And obviously we'll talk about what happened later on. Thank you, Heather. And we hopefully have positive things to talk about. And we have positive things to talk about, even with some losses. So you know what? Let's keep the optimism here.
Has it been positive?
Has it been perfect? No. Hell no, it hasn't been perfect. But by God, it hasn't been terrible. Hasn't been unwatchable. Things are getting better. They're getting better. They were unwatchable a few, 3-4 weeks ago. They're better now. So let's just keep that optimism, folks. All right. Anyway, stay safe, stay healthy out there. Peace and love, everyone.
Booze balls for the devil.